Okay, so as I was saying, very welcome to everybody, and for anybody that's on with us for the first time, my goal with these Monday webinars is twofold. Number one, I want to share with you guys some trading ideas and things that I'm looking for this week. So it's my watch list, right? It's what I'm looking to trade this week. And of course, the picture can change a little bit as markets change. But overall, the big picture that I'm looking at, scenario A or scenario B plays out, and it's just which one we end up taking. So I want to share with you guys trading ideas and things that I'm looking at. Some are new traders, some are experienced traders just needing a couple extra trade ideas, and some are advanced and they're here to correct me when I'm wrong on a setup, and I appreciate all aspects of traders. So very glad to have you guys here. And my other goal is to hopefully introduce a few of you guys to a new way of looking at the market. We all have our methods and we all have our techniques. And I want to kind of show you guys my technique and give you another take on trading. So not only is it a trade idea like buy the pound dollar at this area or sell it at this area, but it's a new way to kind of approach trading and look at the market and so on. I strongly recommend that those of you trading, if you can put in a half hour twice a day. I've been talking to a lot of people about this lately. If you can put in a half hour twice a day, you can be a fairly successful trader. 30 minutes twice a day. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. You can be a pretty successful trader by doing that. And so some of these setups and some of these things that we're going to discuss, really that's kind of all they require is that much time. More time that you can put into it, the more time you can study, the more time you can learn, that's all super beneficial. But a lot of people have kind of busy schedules and busy lives and want to do as much as they can, but time is always a constraint, and I totally understand that. In fact, I understand that so much better now as I have 2 kids and I can't even imagine what I did with spare time. And so that's kind of that's kind of the take we're going for. Put in a little bit of consistent time every day, watch these setups, use my indicator, do all this stuff, and it'll be super great. If anybody does not have my indicator, I will post that link in a few minutes to download it, and you can get a free copy of my indicator, which is on the charts. Likewise, you can also, if you'd like to see kind of a more day-to-day approach at what we look at and how we do it, you are more than welcome to get a free trial to my live trading group. You can do so at daytradersfx.com/join. So if you just go to the main page right there, you can get instant access, or you can just go to join. And that will get you all set up on the website. You can get a free trial to just website access, which is recordings of our live sessions that are posted every single day, twice a day, or you can get access to our live chat room where we do a few more things and we cover a few more details and so on. By the way, the website, this is far from a finished product. I've been back and forth with my web guy all last week, and we're trying to find kind of the best situation and the best setup. So apologies for still having a website that's under some construction, but it'll get there. It works. It's functional for right now. You can access all the trades, all the videos, all the details from the website. You can get coaching. You can see recordings of everything. But it'll look a lot prettier coming up, and there will be some better layouts for a few things. It's going to be really great, actually. After the final brainstorm session last night, we have nailed down the setup that we're going to have, and it's going to be just so clean and so easy to work with. So I'm really excited about that. Okay. Enough about those details. Are you guys ready to talk about a couple of trades? There's a few big setups that I'm really excited about. I talked about a couple of trades that should pay out around 1,000 pips, and I'm pretty excited for those. So let's discuss, excuse me, what those are. Because I don't know about you, but I wouldn't hate a couple of trades at 1,000 pips a pop. So we're going to go into some of that detail. There you go, Mel. Yeah, exactly. We have a pretty interesting week of news. I mean, just like an intense week of news, actually. We saw a decent amount of news on Sunday. We've seen a bit of stuff on Monday already. Some manufacturing numbers from the UK, ISM numbers from the US. We have some Aussie news coming up. And then at 7:30, the time zones are always changing so extremely, I can hardly keep track. This is normally 9:30 and now it's 7:30. We have interest rate announcements, and I'm going to poke my head in here and see what these are all looking like, because we've got some pretty interesting setups in the works that I'm super excited about with some of these Aussie pairs. So coming up today, interest rate in a couple of hours for the Australian pairs, so that's going to be pretty good. Tuesday's not too terribly exciting, although GDP numbers for the for Australia should move things decently well. A little bit of New Zealand news, a little bit of UK news. Nothing's too big, but GDP numbers are always worth keeping an eye on. And that's in Australia tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we have a whole bunch of news. Again, this is my favorite announcement ever. The autumn forecast statement. It almost sounds like the autumn forecast statement is something that you would talk about after a long walk on the beach, holding hands. I don't know, but it's that one's coming up, so I hope you guys are ready for that. And then in the morning we have the ADP numbers, because remember, this week is non-farm payroll. So we got a little warm-up coming up there. We've got some Bank of England, or excuse me, Bank of Canada interest rate numbers, so that's going to be a good little mover for the Canadian pairs. We've got some good setups we're talking about there. Trade balance and retail sales for Australia. You can see it just goes on and on. Interest rate announcements for the UK and Europe, big deal. ECB press conference, huge deal on Thursday. And then we just polish it off on Friday with employment numbers from the US and Canada. So basically this week is going to be like a marathon news week, and we're going to have a couple of live sessions just for news related stuff, so be ready for that. But it's going to be an intense week. It'll be pretty exciting, so I hope you guys are locked and loaded. Okay, so having said all that, here are some pairs that I am going to watch very closely this week. And as you can see, there are about 6 of them. I'm looking at 6 pairs this week. There will probably be more as the week progresses on, in more of kind of a short-term status. And as I have more time to go over more charts, I could add more to it. But at least these 6 pairs will be some goodies this week. So I'm pretty excited about these guys. First off, we have this euro dollar. Now, of course, with ECB news and everything there, this could be the boost that we need to get the euro dollar to retrace just a little bit. Just to be clear, I'm pretty set on the fact that, in my semi-expert opinion, the euro dollar has got more to move down. The pound dollar has more to move down. The dollar Swiss franc is going to move up. I don't know where gold's going. The Aussie New Zealand's going to have some big moves, and pound Swiss franc and so on. But I'm definitely looking for I'm looking for the U.S. dollar to continue to rally, and I think that it should be able to do that fairly easily. But I think we're at a point of kind of a stopping or a slowing point where things are going to be ready to pull back and retrace just a little bit. So we're going to talk about how to jump into some of those, and then what we're going to do once some of that happens. So here is euro dollar right here. Move up into 126.50, very possibly, and then sell, sell, sell. Now, I'm going to preface that little move into 126.50 and then sell, sell, sell with we're going to wait for that sell, sell, sell until after the ECB news. And that ECB press conference is Thursday. So we're going to wait a chunk of the week before we look for any of that sell stuff. But I think we're going to have, as I have in these notes here, a nice little move up into that 126.50. So here we are about 124.70-ish area, just a little bit above 124.70. We have this little head and shoulders almost pattern that looks like it wants to hold. Again, looking at the long-term time frame, I think it's impossible that the euro dollar doesn't at least hit 120. So the euro dollar is headed to 120 in my opinion, and possibly below. I haven't seen the euro dollar move with much conviction below 120 for a long time, but things are changing. Interest rates in Europe are by no means going to be going up anytime soon. Inflation's a problem, employment's a problem. There's a lot of kind of issues going on there. And in the U.S., employment is looking good. Interest rates might be rising, and some of that stuff might be happening. So this could be the break of 120 that we've been waiting for a little while, like 8 years. But I think we're going to get to 120 at the very minimum. But we've had this nice little double bottom at about 123.60. And it keeps hitting this and just bouncing off of it like crazy. And we're off that 123.60 by 110 pips or so. And we had this nice little dip right here, and it almost looked like that was going to be a shoulder, and then this is going to be some sort of head, this little double bottom. And if it breaks this guy right here, if it breaks this descending trend line, then that's where I'm looking for at least about 150 pip movement or so up into this 126.50 area. Now, what would it take for the euro dollar to move up into 130? I have no idea, and it's probably not going to happen anytime too soon. But it could. It could. And we have to be ready for that. And that's where if the ECB were to do or say something totally crazy, and if the euro were up around the 126.50 by the time they speak, we could see some progress up into that. And Kevin, yes, that is I see the link you posted there. I haven't looked at the chart just yet, but I know that trend line, and I've actually published something on TradingView about that crazy long-term trend line that we're approaching, and it's looking pretty fantastic. So I mean, this could be the time. This could be the time that we get that huge dollar rally, and that this just continues on moving. And it looks like it could very likely be, because there's a lot of financial instability and economic, question marks going on in Europe right now, and that's a pretty big deal. And the U.S. has kind of already gone through that, and I think we're on kind of the tail end of it. So this is a great time to be long U.S. dollar. But it's a very good time for us to be looking to trade the breaks of some of these trend lines and catch a little bit of retracement, like again on this euro dollar. So I'm looking to kind of be long somewhere above 125.00 on euro dollar, and targeting at least 126.50, maybe 127.00. I don't know how much higher than that I'm going to try for before the news. The news could spike it up there, it could spike it down, it could do a whole bunch of things. But basically above 125.00, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to get long into about 126.50. And then I'm just going to be lurking and waiting for any opportunity to sell, to short the euro dollar right on down to that down to that 120 area. So we've got some pretty fantastically big trades. If for some reason the euro dollar was able to exceed this 126.50 and get up into 127.50, from there I would be pretty excited about just trading it right on down to 120, grabbing a quick 700 pips out of that move down, because that's probably a fairly safe bet that we're going to get that. So anyways, that's euro dollar. That's what I'm looking for. Long above 125.00 into 126.50, and then wait for the signal and the setup to get us short again from anywhere between 126.50 to 127.50, and we'll be getting short down into 120, down into 120. So that's what I'm looking for on euro dollar. Any questions about that? Let me know. I'm all ears. Pound dollar. I think the pound dollar is a little bit more stable than. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think the pound dollar is a little more stable than euro dollar, but not a ton. And I'm definitely looking to sell rallies on pound dollar as well. So right now we're looking for a move up into about 160, and I think we can get it. It might be really optimistic, but then again, it might not be. Remember my indicator, and I didn't talk about the indicator too much on this euro dollar, but we have indicator setups on 4-hour and daily charts on euro dollar, and we have it on the 4-hour and daily on the pound dollar as well. And what this indicator is telling us, remember, is that these markets are reaching some fairly nice oversold levels. Now, that doesn't mean the downtrend is over. It just means that things are getting a little bit oversold for the moment. So it's time for some of that retracement. So pound dollar is kind of in the same situation where it seems to be holding this 155.90, 15600 area pretty well. You can see this kind of bottoming out on this 4-hour chart here. and on the daily chart. We still have kind of a low probability of everything because it hasn't pulled that far away. It's been kind of consolidating for a couple of weeks now. But it has moved away from the 200 moving average a decent amount, and a break of this little falling wedge right here should get us into this cluster of pivot points right here. We have a cluster of a daily, weekly, and monthly pivot point all around 160, give or take. And so this pound dollar, if we can start getting, again, entries up above, we took an entry on this last week that was looking so great, and then it just didn't pan out quite that much. We got in at the break of this little double top here. We talked about this in the webinar last week, and it broke, it put us in, and it ended up running up, 80 plus pips. And I locked in, and I was looking for a trade into that 200 moving average. Locked in, came back, kicked us out with +1 or +2 pips, whatever we locked in. I don't even remember now, and has dipped back down. But it seems to be holding around this 15600 pretty well, and I think the pound dollar is ready for that move now. Somewhere above 157.75, maybe even 15800, it should be ready for that 200 plus pip movement into 160. So I'm looking for that. But as we get into 160, I'm going to be very cautious, very careful. I'm going to be looking for a couple of things that are going to hopefully give us a nice little signal around this 160, and then we're going to sell the heck out of this thing. But there's that small chance that we get that run up into 163. So I'm going to be open to that. At 163, it is a 100% sell, 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 sell. But at 160, it could very likely be a nice opportunity to sell that rally as well. On the pound dollar, which trade which setup are you talking about, Benny? And 4-hour chart, 100% long trade. I definitely don't have 100% on the 4-hour chart. I have 44%, so it's not quite as far as the indicator goes. I mean, now if your personal analysis is telling you that it's time to buy the pound dollar, that's definitely something. But as far as the indicator goes, we're still at about 44%, so we're not quite to that great probability number just yet. So yeah, good point. Okay, so looking for that correction on euro dollar and an opportunity to sell those rallies. Correction on pound dollar, opportunity to sell those rallies, and that's going to be great. Benny, do me a favor and take a screenshot and email it to me. And let me just see how things are looking on there. Let me see if some settings are interesting or something. But send me a screenshot. That'd be great. And then dollar Swiss franc. I like the opportunity of a move down on dollar Swiss franc. And then I want to buy those dips. So, for example, the dollar Swiss franc right here has this fantastic rising wedge. Excuse me. Has a fantastic rising wedge right here, and if it can break out of this thing, we're sitting at about 96.50 area, and I'm only looking for a move down into about 9,500. So nothing super crazy, but if it can move down into 9,500, I'd like to buy those dips, and I would sell the break as well. I don't really have a fantastic entry to get in on this one just yet, but this again will very likely be something that we trade right at or around the ECB news on Thursday. So on Thursday, and Susan and Benny. Okay, I'll show you guys a couple of things that is probably why you're getting a different reading. I'll show you that at the end of the webinar once we stop the recording. So the dollar Swiss franc right here is just, at this point, it's a nice price pattern. We have decent numbers and so on right here. Nothing too excellent, but decent. So if we get a price pattern break, definitely looking to target this pivot down here around 9,500. It could move as low as 9,300, but that would be like kind of a pretty interesting news. news-driven movements. So, like if if the ECB for some reason sounds really optimistic about anything, then that could really catapult this dollar Swiss franc. So this one's a little bit more on the back burner. I'm a little more interested in euro dollar and pound dollar, but dollar Swiss franc is going to be worth keeping an eye on. So just watch this. Look for move down into 9,500. Remember that move could extend down to 9,300. From there, we want to be buying dips. Definitely around 9,300. If we see a 300 pip drop anytime over the next several days, buy the heck out of this dollar Swiss franc. For sure. Okay, so just a quick little update on that one. Now, gold. Does gold have dandruff? Because it's got an interesting head and shoulders situation going, and we had a couple of trades in the group that just went so crazy. They were up and down and all over the place, and we ended up getting out of gold with a nice little break even on everything, which was an accomplishment because gold has been so totally crazy. We had this nice little move down, and this is a 1 hour chart, by the way. So gold on Friday just decided to tank like crazy, and it dropped over $40. And then it hits this low, and it opens up Sunday night, and it rallies. Gold rallies $80. $80. From the low of Sunday to the high of today, Monday. It's rallied $80. Good heavens. And then from that high, it's pulled back. This thing is just not giving me any. There we go. It's pulled back a few bucks, but $80 move. I mean, that is so insane. So we were able to get out of some trades with some profit, and this thing has turned around and just moved all over the place. The head and shoulders situation that I'm still looking at as a possibility is on our daily chart, we have this nice little shoulder, possible head right there that seems to be holding, and we're trying to make that next shoulder. And it could be a totally crazy one, could be a total wild ride. I don't know when I'm going to be jumping back into gold. It's going to be a little while, so we're going to have to wait for that one. Yeah, definitely good question. How do we ride this crazy wild animal of a trade? And I agree with you, Kevin. I'm still overall bearish gold, but it's having a hard time. It's having a really hard time getting below and staying below this 1180. So remember, this was our big double bottom area here, and it's having a hard time with that. On the weekly chart, this could lead to some retracement here. On the weekly chart, we have some pretty nice train tracks right here. So we've got equal size candles going in either direction. This could be the starting point of a bit of a retracement in gold. Now, commodities are still heading towards weakness. Oil is down. Oil rallied a bit, but oil's down, gold's down, everything's down. But we've seen some nice little rallies, and so what we want to look at in price action is when markets stop reacting to good news or bad news. And gold just doesn't seem to be reacting to this dollar. Typically gold will weaken as the dollar strengthens and so on, and it just doesn't seem to be reacting to that anymore. And it seems like it doesn't really want to stay below this 1200 for the moment. So this could be the start of a move on gold up into 1250 and into the 1280. 1250 and 1280 are going to be, the levels that I'm watching for with gold. From there, I still think we're going to get a move down into this 50% fib on gold, which is 1088. So that 1088 level is still a great target. And I think we have an excellent opportunity of reaching that. So no major setups just yet, but we're aware of the potential head and shoulders pattern right here, and the fact that could get gold up into as high as 1300, but probably into the mid to high 1200 range. So keep an eye on that. Gold's looking interesting, but it might not be ready just yet. Here's a couple that I am super excited about. One being the Aussie New Zealand. So Aussie New Zealand is looking super great. I want to buy the dips around 10600, and I'm going to target 117. So that's right. That is 1100 pips that I'm looking for on the Aussie New Zealand, and let me explain why. This will be a great trade to just to just get into and forget about. Just forget about it. Just put the buy trade on when it gets to that area and just forget about it. A couple of reasons why we love this Aussie New Zealand is because these long-term levels over here, it just doesn't get too much below the 105 region. It just doesn't do too much more than that. We get some spikes down and so on, but 105 seems to kind of be the floor for the Aussie New Zealand. And we've seen some spikes. This one dipped down into 102.75. This is a trade that if I see 106, I'm going to get into this trade with no stop loss. I'm putting this trade on and I'm letting it ride forever. Because this level, these pairs react so well to these levels, and I still think we have a better chance of being bearish New Zealand dollar and bullish Australian dollar. So I'm looking for that to happen. And the Aussie news, some of the endless Aussie news that we have coming up, could get us could get us that move higher. So we want to be in on this action for sure. The Aussie New Zealand is going to just be a monster. Yeah, exactly, Bo. Exactly. This is just going to be one we just want to put the trades on and just let them rock and roll. But we've got to make sure, remember, we're looking for entries around 106. Between 106 and 107 is ideal. I'd like to see 106, preferably to really just put all the confidence in on a trade like this. And yes, yeah, Mel, yeah, sure, you can set a limit order. If you put a limit order for 106 on a smaller trade size, and we're just going to layer into this thing because it's going to make that big run up and it's going to be huge. Yeah, that's a good point, Adrian. That is a good point. So I love this whole setup, and remember, one of the things I'm looking for here is there's some pivots and a few things back here that aren't showing on the chart that are overlapping very nicely with this 117.50 200 moving average on the weekly chart. We're just going to get there. It's going to get there. It's just going to make a nice little move up, and we're going to be watching it, and we're going to be ready for it, and we're just going to buy the heck out of this thing. So I love it. I think that this is a great little setup, and yes, Adrian, it's a good point you bring up, and we're going to be looking for earlier opportunities to get into this, even before 106. For example, our 1 hour chart is giving us pretty good numbers. 91% probability, 340 bars out, 196 of 244 max pips. We're at pretty extreme levels across the board. And so if this kind of holds this, as you say there, and I like that 107.50 level, if that holds, that's going to give us a great opportunity on this 1 hour chart to get in at the break of this little falling wedge that we have right here. So the falling wedge looks super great. If we can get in on that break, then we can start. I don't know if it's going to give us that huge move up just yet on this breakout, but that should be able to give us some nice moves into some fantastic missed pivots that we have up here. And it could be the start of the big move up. I'd like to see this thing drop another 150 or 200 pips, and I think it can. And then we can just really buy the heck out of those dips. But otherwise, we will trade earlier breaks of some of these descending trend lines and get this thing back up into, back up into the 10900, 10950 area, and then kind of see where it goes from there. But this is going to be a monster trade. There's at least 1,000 pips to be made on this thing, and I am ready for it. So that's one of them. That's one of the monster trades that I love, with a at least an 1,100 pip profit target if we can get down to 106. And then the pound Swiss franc is a big mama as well, and I'm loving this pound Swiss franc, and I think we have some really good opportunities with this one. And Dave, as far as how long we might be in the Aussie New Zealand, if we saw 106, I would stay in that trade for 6 months, if not more. But it could make a majority of the movement in a lot less of time. Maybe we're only in it for 2 or 3 months, but I would stay in that thing for months and months and months and just let it play out. Just something that we didn't worry about in the back of our mind, and we just let it play out. And we added positions as setups happened, and made some serious cash on that thing. It could be a lot quicker, but I would stay in it as long as I needed to. Several months could be a realistic possibility. So that is the Aussie New Zealand. Yeah, exactly. You gotta let it marinate. You gotta let it just cook a little bit. Just let it do its thing for a while. So yes, that is absolutely the case on Aussie New Zealand. It looks super great. And then the pound Swiss franc. Remember, the pound Swiss franc still has huge potential. This is still very possibly a fantastic head and shoulders pattern. If we break this low right here, we could get a nice little move into from this low, which we're 200 plus pips away from right now. We could get a nice little move down into down. Well, if we look at this price projection stuff here, we're about 600 pips. So if we break this low and make a nice little move down, that could be kind of our initial big move on this pair, and then from there we could grab 500 or 600 pips on the way down, and then I would be super interested in buying the dip on pound Swiss franc and trading it all the way back on up. And I think there's 600 to 800 pips of upside potential. My chart got all wacky looking. I don't know why, but I think that. I think if we get that nice little dip down here, then it will give us some great buy the dip opportunities. So looking for looking for that would be super ideal. So anyways, there's lots of good potential of long-term trades on Aussie New Zealand and pound Swiss franc, but not to mention we have really great long-term potential trades on euro dollar and pound dollar as well. So we have hundreds and hundreds of pips just waiting for us. And so these should all be some fantastic trades. I hope to see some of you guys with us in the live trade group this coming week. It should be pretty exciting. And we're going to kind of continue to stock these trades. We should get some euro dollar and pound dollar trades on in the coming day or two. And we should get some very nice Aussie trades coming up as well. Remember, we have a ton of Aussie news coming up. And so that could really get this Aussie New Zealand started. I don't really have any other Aussie pairs that I'm super interested in trading at the moment, but Aussie New Zealand is amazing. Aussie dollar might give us something. We'll see how that one goes. But the Aussie New Zealand is looking super fantastic. So huge setups in the works. Lots of big trades coming this week, and should be a really great week. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for being on with us, guys. Questions, comments. Let me know what you